Macromobility. It's a term I'm trying to popularize. Get with it here. It's about buses or the high-capacity vehicles out there on the road. For those of you who don't know, there's a lot of Class 7, Class 8 vehicles out there. These are the heaviest ones too. We're talking about the big rigs, and you know what? The sides are the same. A trailer can be up to 53 feet long, and so can these motor coaches. Think Greyhound-type buses. And I founded a company that's the Uber of buses. We are out there dispatching the fragmented fleets of these thousands of little mom-and-pop bus companies as if these buses are ours, and we're competing against Greyhound doing it. But I bring it up because macromobility, I think, is the counter to micromobility, scooters, bikes, and this is going to be the next wave of mobility as a service. We've seen it in all these other modes, and now buses are coming. Macromobility, properly defined, is about moving lots of people at the same time. That if micromobility is about going down to moving the individual, the basic atomic unit of the human, how do we move the masses? And that can be planes and trains, and they have their place. But of course, you know that I'm the bus guy, and I am fighting for the humble bus to get some respect out there. There needs to be more talk about how buses are the greenest form of transportation. But let's talk about the two use cases really that macromobility solves for. One is surge demand. If you remember, this concept of surge pricing got popular a few years back. We were all, as good capitalists, advocating and explaining how the apps of Uber and Lyft were allowed to price gouge essentially when it was raining outside. And we all justified it and thought it was a brilliant idea. Notice that they rebranded it, and we don't see that transparency where they literally used to, for those of you who don't know, they literally used to show you how it was 2, 3, 4x the usual price and tell you quite clearly how much they were jacking it up. But while I appreciated that transparency, the real solution to surge demand is not about getting more individual vehicles out there. It's about mass mobility. It's about getting the largest vehicles out there. They're always going to be the most efficient way. And if you can aggregate individuals together to create bus trips, well, that's what Rally did. But the other use case that macromobility solves for is really middle mile distances. Planes, let's say, are long distance. We're talking about across the country. But when you're going the next state over, or intercity travel within, I'd say 4 hours to 8 hours, even on the high end, the middle long distance, we're talking about buses really being able to help. Because you know what? Oftentimes it's a bunch of individuals that are taking cars from their city to the next one over, and we don't all have to travel alone. And while we don't literally want to carpool, though there is that solution, BlaBlaCar, check it out in Europe. For my American friends that don't know this, there is literally a digital hitchhiking solution out there. But I am, again, advocating for buses, that you, in a mobility as a service world, that you should be taking buses between cities. And then when you get to the city, then use Uber there. Or if you want, use Toro if you need something for longer. But buses cover the middle mile. It's a big deal. So macromobility is the term that I'm trying to popularize. And here I hope you understand the two main use cases I covered: surge demand and the middle mile distances. Both of them, the buses are optimized for. Motor coaches, what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about city buses. That's a whole other conversation. I'm not there yet in my journey of dominating the macromobility and bus world. I got to take one kingdom at a time here, and I'm going after motor coaches, the nicest vehicles out of the road. They have the bucket seats and the suspensions, and you should know more about them and how they're going to be the next wave of us all, both as consumers, as businesses, as perhaps a society, changing the way that we move around, that we don't go by owning vehicles. We use the right vehicle for the time and place that we need it. And buses are a part of that solution. I'm going to be out there advocating for them. Please come check us out. Subscribe if you're into macromobility buses or the future of regional transportation.